Hi, this is Kelly.
And this is Jenna.
You're listening to ODFM.
And this episode is One Disparagement from Murder. So this is a submission from a friend of mine and former coworker named Melanie.
Melanie.
She has surpassed you in the
God.
Weirdness of being attached to these.
I'm not alone.
But she's awesome. I had a feeling. I wasn't surprised that she sent in a story because she's a person, she always has some kind of crazy story for almost anything. So I wasn't surprised that she had a submission.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised that there were 3 with some more to potentially come. And was the first one she sent in. And I'm just dumbfounded by this one. I don't know which I find more fascinating, the victim or the murderer.
Ooh,
I really don't.
Okay.
So let me have a little wine here because dang. This is the story of Melanie's great aunt Louise, who she was very close to until her death in 2003. And she was 66 when she passed away. This is the story of her Louise. So in 1954, a 19-year-old Louise Banich, was a school teacher from Chicago. And she went on a blind date.
Uh-oh.
This is what gives blind dates a bad name. She went on a blind date with a 20-year-old named William E. Thoreson III, who was heir to the Great Western Steel fortune.
Ooh, yeah.
And she disliked him at first, but he was very persistent. She said he was an extremely charming man. Melanie sent me, I think, 2 different articles on her where that her aunt was actually interviewed in. And then I found a couple other articles. So a lot of this is like direct quotes from Louise.
Wow.
Which is very interesting.
Cool. Very cool.
So Louise said he was an extremely charming man. People liked him and feared him at the same time. She said, right? People liked him and feared him at the same time. Louise said she loved his humor. She loved the way he would pick up stray animals and bring them home.
Aww.
He was charming, and everyone thought he was charming.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It said that it was that charm that swept Louise off her feet. She thought of herself as an ugly duckling type who had only had a few dates with 3 other men and no marriage prospects when she met William.
Problem. Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Especially back in those days.
Exactly.
Prospects. Yes.
Right. Exactly. 19. I mean, she's fairly almost an old maid already, right? I mean,
you're starting your wrinkles. Those crow's feet are getting bad.
Those crow's feet.
Yes.
Exactly. So in her own words, she was naive, impoverished, willful, and ambitious, which sounds like a recipe for disaster right there. So after 2 years, they were married on New Year's Day. By June of 1970, William, now a millionaire at age 32, was dead. Shot several times by Louise, now 33, in an upstairs bedroom, which was cluttered with hundreds of mysterious boxes and cartons in their mansion in Fresno, California.
Whoa.
Louise then ran across the street to a neighbor who quoted her as saying, "I shot Bill." So officers found William shot several times with a .38 caliber pistol, nude on a bed in an upstairs bedroom where the couple lived with their son, Michael, who was 8 at the time. The house was filled with so many cartons and boxes. One patrolman said it looked like a warehouse. Not exactly what you expect from a
especially
mansion.
Millionaire. Yeah, were they moving?
Right. Don't you have people to pick up after that stuff? Like, because I would. That's like number 1 on the list, is someone to clean and put my shit away. William had spent years collecting guns and explosives. He was killed the day before a federal appeals court partially reversed his conviction for assembling a huge arsenal of military arms, including anti-aircraft guns, artillery, and machine guns that he had hidden around the San Francisco Bay Area in 1967, right?
Like all around, just in case of, World War Z.
Well, this is what they said. So both he and Louise were arrested in 1967 for illegal possession of automatic weapons that the couple said were to have been for a gun museum at Fisherman's Wharf. I that's kind of an odd cover. Like,
yeah.
No. We're doing a museum. It's cool.
We're going to hide these all around just for the future museum.
We just didn't know where to put them. So we just figured we'd stash a few here, we'd stash a few there.
Just in case.
So William had a record of trouble with the law that ranged from beating up a neighbor who had kicked his dog to stealing.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, the same. Honestly, yeah.
You're going to kick a dog. You're going to
give him this one.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're okay with that, William. We like you for that part. Okay.
That's cool. He also used to bring home strays.
Yes. But, that got me. I was like, I like this guy already.
Oh, yeah. But let me keep going. Yeah. You might feel differently.
I might change my mind.
You might change your mind. Unless, of course, you're a ugly duckling type who has no marriage prospects, in which case you're like, I can look over some, I can look beyond that.
I'm good with this. You like strays. Yeah.
Let's see. He also had stolen $26 worth of posters from a ferry terminal in Maine, for which he was convicted of a felony.
Wow, that's a felony.
Yeah, it doesn't seem worth it to me. Okay. $26 of the posters. Yeah. He was the son of William Thoreson II, president of Chicago's Great Western Steel Company. He had inherited $70 million from his grandfather.
Whoa.
And more money also from his brother, Richard. It is said that William conned his younger brother, Richard, into writing a will, making him his sole heir for at least another $1 million.
See, that's smart.
Well, see, you said smart. I'm sitting there going like, usually little brothers, you just like, you tease them and like you give them like noogies and like, but he was like, sign this document.
Yeah. Here you go.
Yeah. Right, exactly. He conned his brother into writing this will that made him the sole heir. Wow. And then in 1965, when Richard was 24, he was shot to death and his body was found in a rented car in Illinois with no suspects.
I have a suspect.
You have a suspect? Where were you when they needed you?
I know. That's what I always have my kit at the
That's what everybody says, right?
Yeah.
During their 10-year marriage, Louise was aware of his mental instability, which I also feel is putting it mildly. Apparently, he had made his first visit to a psychiatrist at the age of 3, which I would think in those days, I mean, it's different now. Then that would have been like a huge deal. I didn't even know they had psychiatrists for kids. They probably didn't. They were probably just one second. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, and then there was a quote that a psychiatrist recently described him as the volcano type, smoldering underneath.
Uh-oh. At 3.
At 3.
I feel like all 3-year-olds are smoldering underneath.
Very true.
Like a tantrum is at the ready at any point.
This is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I maybe we question that doctor.
Yeah. Or maybe
I don't know.
Maybe the family is so used to having their way with everything they can't understand why a 3-year-old.
There's a lot more questions there. That doesn't really really gives more questions. William would not allow Louise to keep a diary. He forced her to take Seconal tablets, Seconal, I don't know how to pronounce it, to share his experimentation with ever-increasing doses of sleeping pills. He teased her, broke her ribs, gave her black eyes, manipulated her, and ridiculed her. But she said she never left him because she loved him and he needed her.
Oh. That sounds familiar.
Louise really needed someone to talk to her. We needed, she needs a good girlfriend.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
Someone to say, get out.
So over the years, terror grew both for William, who had a fear of being locked up in a mental institution for good reason. And for Louise, she had a fear of being killed by her husband. Over the 10 years of marriage, by that point, Louise said that she felt, quote, destroyed and hollow. He had made her a gun runner, a criminal, her husband's servant, and his personal robot. He trained her to steal. She stole things like glasses, canoes, guns, dynamite, anything that William wanted.
How do you steal a canoe? Like,
questions.
Do you
like
run
glasses? I assume when she's talking glasses, like you're at a restaurant and you're like, I'm going to take this one, But a canoe, you can't stick that under your shirt.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, like, if you see someone running with a canoe, I'm going to notice and be like,
Yeah, right? It was weird.
Okay.
I also don't know how you steal dynamite. Like, where's dynamite that you can just go in? I don't know.
She's running into the mines, grabbing the dynamite, running back
right?
out.
Oh my gosh.
Don't push the button.
Jeez. Whew, okay. So after several days of beatings and verbal threats, William told her that he had hired a man to kill his brother.
Jesus.
For the rest of the grandfather's inheritance. And then he had later killed the assassin that he hired.
Well, you got to take care of all the,
Right. All the loose ends, right?
Everything might come back to you. So
exactly.
He's only being smart.
Right. So there was days of torture from her husband. And then he's admitting, oh, hey, I've killed people.
Yeah.
And so.
Might be afraid.
Yep. So on the morning of June 10th, 1970, William was killed. Louise shot him.
Okay.
She was charged with his murder, pleaded self-defense, and was acquitted of his murder in November of 1970.
Wow. Okay.
Right? Which, good for her, right?
Yeah.
Except that I'm like, you know how hard it is, at least right now, it seems like, if there's a abused wife to get acquitted of murdering your, no. They're like, well, was he hurting you right that second?
Right.
So I'm just surprised because she actually assisted him in things. She helped with the stealing and the canoes.
I wonder if money helps.
Oh, well, that's true. Yeah. That's good.
Now that so many kids are starting school with online learning, it's time to update the school supply list with stuff for parents who have suddenly become part-time educators.
Yes, all the important things to start the year off right, like the Mojito drink infusion kit and drink tumblers with sayings like, not slim, kind of shady.
And at the end of a long day of pretending to understand Common Core math, candles like Anxiety Girl, infused with impending doom, hit the spot.
All of these critical back-to-school items and more are available at thistlewellington.com. That's THISTLEWELLINGTON.com.
ODFM listeners get 10% off when they use the code ODFM at checkout. So visit thistlewellington.com today.
So she was quoted as saying, the hardest thing about it was knowing I was killing someone I loved and knowing that he manipulated me to the end to do what he wanted. She said he had wanted to die. He had even tried to hire someone to kill him once in Los Angeles, but failed. Doesn't say if the killer failed or if he failed in hiring the guy, but it didn't work. She said she is convinced her husband wanted her to kill him because he couldn't do it himself. And, quote, the only thing I regret is that he didn't come to me and ask me to kill him. I'd have done anything for him, but why didn't he ask me? It really bothers me. I feel like she's not focusing on the point.
Wait a minute.
Louise, you're missing big picture. Okay.
Yeah.
In 1974, 4 years after his death, she wrote a book about their life together, and it was called It Gave Everybody Something to Do. And she wrote it with an author named E.M. Nathanson. And she was quoted to say, I wanted to call it William Sweet William. I loved that title. But the publishers already had a book with something similar. So she settled for It Gave Everybody Something to Do, which is very odd, but okay.
Very weird. Okay.
Because, this is great, because it was a reference to a series of dynamitings, which I didn't know was a word. Dynamitings that William had instigated in Tucson in 1964 to relieve his, quote, boredom and scare the daylights out of a radio announcer that he knew.
That
quote,
sounds fun.
Louise, right? See, Louise felt the same way because she was quoted as saying the bombing seemed like fun. Said Louise of the escapades she and some friends participated in. Hey guys, what are you doing on Saturday? Because I thought we could do this slew of dynamitings. Yes, it's a word. Let's all go do. It sounds like fun, doesn't it?
Oh God.
So then she was quoted saying, William and I talked about doing a book. He had a lot of experiences in boarding school before I met him. He always said he could write a book that would make Catcher in the Rye look like kindergarten.
Well,
what a lovely thought. Oh, that's so great. We should write a book. You're right.
Dynamiting.
Oh, their son.
Was this before fireworks were easy to get, maybe?
I'm guessing, yes. Because I don't know, it was the 70s.
70,
so.
yeah. We were kids. We had them as kids. Come on, just get some fireworks, William.
I don't know.
Dynamiting.
Yeah, but you know what? If you're a millionaire, are you going to go out and get like those little
the snakes?
Snakes and firecrackers, and are you going to do that, or are you going to go and get the big guns?
Yeah, you should probably just go big. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So their son Michael, who was 8 at the time of his father's death, had a lot of questions after his father died, as one would.
Yeah.
So Louise said, one day I said, Michael, what would you think if I wrote a book? And he said, I'd love to read it. This scares me too. I gotta say, this is a little unsettling.
Because everybody's bored.
Right? Because hey, let's give people something to do.
Let's give them something to do.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So Louise Thoreson described herself as a different person from the one who fell for William Thoreson. She had outgrown her young and dumb years and survived a marriage that she thought totally destroyed me. Quote, I've learned that no one has a right to control your life. Now no one tells me what to do. I'm not accountable to anyone. It's my life, and to hell with everyone else.
Yeah, girl. Mm-hmm.
And no one's going to argue with you because you killed your husband and
we're
got
all
away
scared
with
of
it.
you. Yeah, we're all a little afraid.
Crap.
Wow.
And yet still very impressed with her.
Super. Yeah.
I kind of get why Melanie was close to her, because she is a very interesting lady. Hold on. I'm not done.
Okay. She's got more.
So, right. So I found a little more information when I just looked up William Thoreson III. And I found out that before he was 21, he had gone through a number of boarding schools and mental institutions, that he had never learned a trade or acquired an education, that he regularly smashed up cars, terrorized young women, and fought with authority. He apparently married Louise to escape commitment by his family to a state mental institution.
Wow. No wonder he was so afraid of it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yikes.
It also
just
said,
pawn you off on this woman and hope everything goes
exactly.
Okay.
You're either going to get married or you're going to an institution.
Poor girl.
Again, like the previous story, hold on, let me weigh my options.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the married.
Yeah.
Okay. It also said that he was reported to have stolen more than $500,000 worth of securities in a duffel bag from his parents' cellar vaults because he claimed it was his legacy.
Oh, you could wait until they pass, or
why would we want to do that?
Yeah, it's true.
What?
I mean,
I need this money now. There are dynamitings to be done, and those don't pay for themselves.
No, they are not cheap. Except she was stealing all the dynamite. So wait a minute. He had Louise.
Yeah.
It's free. Okay.
I also found that there are some people who believe that he could be the famous Zodiac killer.
What?
Because it was the right time, the right area, and the right kind of
psychosis.
There you go. Yeah, I was trying to find the right word. Right. So nothing proven, obviously, but there's some connections there.
Interesting. Okay.
And then Melanie also supplied me with an article that was just from 2014 from Channel 7 out of Chicago, a news story. And I'm just going to read it because I was like reading it and I was like, I can't even rewrite this. This is beautiful.
So good.
1966. This is in the early 60s. I'll just say early 60s. In the early 60s, millionaire businessman and soon-to-be U.S. Senator Charles Percy and his family are awakened by shattering glass, then muffled groaning. Percy's daughter and campaign manager, Valerie, had just been struck and stabbed, her killer quickly running off toward the lakeshore, and no one has ever been charged.
Whoa.
Hundreds of pages of publicly unseen FBI records obtained by the Channel 7 news team reveal a prime suspect, this man, William Thoreson III, son of an industrial tycoon, described in one FBI report as, quote, violent, a mental case, armed and dangerous. In the posh north suburb of Kenilworth, which, by the way, I have never heard of, but it's got to be up there somewhere.
Yeah.
Percy's home was just a block and a half away from where Thoreson grew up and frequently returned for family visits in the mid-60s. in Lake Michigan 3 days after the murder, authorities found this bayonet seen here in this evidence photo that you can't see because we're on a podcast. But anyway, a bayonet. I thought that was weird. This is why I had to check the dates. I was like, bayonet.
Civil War, 1800s.
Right? Even though there were footprints from the Percy home to the beach in 1966, authorities never scientifically connected the prints or the bayonet to the killing, nor were they able to trace this single glove found near the scene being shown here tonight for the first time. But again, we're on a podcast.
No, but it was OJ. OJ is all up. It's OJ.
Right? It's OJ. So here's why they connected him.
Okay.
Because after the murder, FBI records reveal Thorenson's Los Angeles probation officer was the one who contacted the Chicago police and said, I believe this person could be considered a suspect in the murder. But 4 years later, Thorenson was shot and killed by his wife, who beat the murder charge by telling jurors her husband had admitted to killing several people.
Wow.
I wonder, so maybe is that how? So if she killed him in self-defense because she felt like her life was in danger.
Right.
And she said to the jury, well, he admitted to killing other people, so I have no reason to think that he wouldn't kill me.
Right.
But
yeah, I know.
But there's no other witnesses. So
right. I think they were a lot less hard on women back in that time, and now it's changed some. But yeah.
So that's why I was like, oh my God, it just keeps going. And I had to stop Googling because there was so much stuff. There was just, I don't know who's more fascinating, her or him.
He's very interesting. Yeah.
That is Melanie's great Aunt Louise.
That's amazing. I kind of love Louise.
I kind of do too.
Yeah.
I kind of do too.
Yeah.
Like, talk about a badass.
Yeah. She's a tough cookie to go through that at that age. And she stole dynamite. I mean, and canoes.
And canoes.
I need to talk to this woman. Oh, that's awesome.
So, that was a fascinating story. And that took like a while for me to research. Because like I said, there was just like more. And I was like, whoa, no, I got to put this in here too. Oh my God, no, I got to add this in there. And
thank you, Melanie. That's amazing.
Thank you, Melanie. That is awesome.
So we need more stories. People keep sending in stories.
Please keep sending in stories. If you don't want us to say how we know you or how you know the person or whatever, we are totally fine with not mentioning you, using fake names, or just being, very vague.
Yes, we can do that. Yeah,
we can do it. You see, I did not give Melanie's first and last name and address.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. That was fun.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to us. I hope you had a good time. I hope you had a couple drinks and more than a couple laughs.
And don't dynamite people. Maybe
let's not go out and do dynamite.
I mean, it sounds a little fun.
It was a 60s thing to do. Yeah. It was totally
so.
It is so 1964. Like no, we could do better. Cool. We could totally do better. Oh,
it's not lit. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Sources for this episode came from ABC7Chicago.com, the New York Times, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the Desert Sun. Thanks for listening to another episode of ODFM, hosted by Kelly DeVries and Jenna Swanson. Production and editing by Kelly DeVries. Theme music by Eric Swanson. ODFM is a satirical true crime podcast for entertainment purposes only. The stories you hear are serious and true. The comments and opinions are not. We apologize if any of our content is harmful or disrespectful. This podcast was created using Anchor. If you have a story you'd like to submit for a future episode, please email it to odfmpodcast@gmail.com. Visit us on Facebook and Instagram at ODFM Podcast, and check out our website, odfmpodcast.com, for more information on our episodes, your hosts, or general shenanigans.